You know, there are an awful lot of malls named Richland Mall. Quite a few of them no longer exist. One or two still around that are not in a good way. But here's an outlier in Waco. This Richland Mall is actually doing okay. Let's go walking and you'll see what I mean. In March 19, 1980, Richland Fashion Mall would open to Waco, Texas, intent on being the shopping, dining, and entertainment destination of the small city and beyond. Opened by Chicago-based Jacobs, Kahan and Company, the mall would boast Dillard's, JCPenney, Sears, H.J. Wilson's, and Bell's as its primary anchors. A gala ceremony would be held, as well as a ribbon-cutting ceremony would be hosted to celebrate the mall's opening, as well as its 90 stores, which would be a 4-day ordeal. Every mall was complete with bells and whistles to woo new shoppers, and Richland Mall was no exception. Keyword was, as it featured a large fountain, along with a wealth of foliage and landscaping in the center court, all designed to bring the outdoors in. Although today, you can tell that they have gotten away from that to a tremendous extent. Personally, I think it's for the worse, but I guess people just don't like aesthetics anymore. Though on another hand, aesthetics don't bring out the material profit, while kiosks do. If anyone has pictures of the old Richland Mall, do chime in, cause I don't like looking at this mall as it stands today. While the mall enjoyed success over the years, seeing a number of benefit shows and events co-sponsored by anchors like Bell's, it was rather turbulent, with vacancies being reported in the 90s. And by 1996, renovations were underway to update this mall's image, draw in new stores, and offer patrons creature comforts. By this time, H.J. Wilson would be long gone, having been replaced by Service Merchandise. And with the renovation would come a grand reopening of the Richland Mall, where it all takes place. Regarding the anchors over the years, Dillard's wouldn't start where the two stores reside today. First, Service Merchandise would relocate, leaving the space vacant once more, and Dillard's would take this opportunity to open a secondary anchor store, which stands today as Dillard's Men's. Fast forward to 2018, and Sears would close their doors for the last time. No surprise there. But Dillard's would take this opportunity to reconfigure the anchor pad to their desires, leaving their original anchor pad behind. Bell's, meanwhile, would be converted into Gordman's in early 2020, but thanks to certain medical issues we aren't allowed to discuss on YouTube, Gordman's would be prematurely killed off. This space would have since been filled in by Tilt Studio in 2021. Dick's Sporting Goods, meanwhile, would come into the picture in 2017, cannibalizing a mall entrance to build their store, which would open in 2018. Which does explain why the JCPenney court looks a bit jank. CBL and Associates would own the mall, and they continue to operate as of the making of this video. They would be behind a major renovation to the mall in 2015, which brings us to the sterilized look we have today. Can you tell I don't like it? While the mall has faced its fair share of challenges, alongside Waco itself, it is at least still in a good position, retaining JCPenney, Dillard's, Tilt Studio, Dillard's, and Dick's Sporting Goods, and with a number of traditional and interesting inline tenants, it looks like Richland Mall will hold out just fine. This is probably the first time I've actually seen a mall store that displays body pillows in the windows. Plenty of anime stores, but not many that display body pillows up front, considering those aren't always used for bedtime comfort, for lack of a better term. And unfortunately, that store was probably the most interesting thing about this mall outside of Tilt Studio. The mall itself is rather boring in a lot of ways. You have your standard fare of stores, which, yeah, is a good start. You have Dillard's and JCPenney, which was present seemingly at every mall that wasn't super dead, to the point where I actually got sick and tired of seeing those two stores. And finally, the mall itself. The exterior entrances are okay, but man, it is whiter than me. And it's probably the blandest mall I've seen on this trip by far. It looks like a committee couldn't agree on anything beyond slapping a coat of white paint on everything, so they just called it a day. But I guess people like this kind of thing, so hey, what the fuck do I know? Best I can tell, it looks like the Richland Mall benefits heavily by being the only real shopping mall in town. Everything else is just strip malls and big boxes. Although in historic aerial imagery, I did notice one building that looked rather mall-like at the intersection of Wooded Acres and Bosque Boulevard. Turns out that used to be the Lake Air Mall. However, that place was demalled a long time ago, and now a Super Target is in its place. But still, Waco being the only mall in town probably helps it out a lot. Also, the nearest malls you could call competition is the Temple Mall, which is not doing well, and the Killeen Mall, which is doing okay, but I hear it's getting worse. But while on the subject of Waco and Killeen, I often hear that Waco and Killeen will debate on which city is worse, though so far, at least on paper, it looks like Killeen is worse. But I want to hear from the locals. How bad or good is Waco? Until next time, Waco, this is Doomie Grunt wishing you and the Richland Mall farewell and good luck. Hey, wait a minute, that's a continuity error. Oh no! You ever heard about the fastest gun in the West? They called him the Waco Kid.